It's time for this week's episode of Brandon's Sports Talk.
Welcome back to Brandon's Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Drew University assistant fencing coach, Coach Keri Ecker. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get into coaching and college fencing?
Actually, funny enough, I didn't know I wanted to get into college fencing. The previous coach with the university had fenced in, coached for New Jersey high school fencing, which is how I had that connection. And during the pandemic, he called me and said, "Hey, we're looking for a Saber coach. I think you'd be a good fit for the team." And so we talked a little bit about it, about some of the requirements and some of the time commitments, and it seemed like it would be a good fit. So I decided to make the move.
What was your college fencing like going to Temple?
Oh, it was fantastic. And honestly, the funny thing is when I was looking at schools, I had no interest in fencing. I had decided on Temple long before I had even considered fencing at the NCAA level, and really had no desire to. And in one of my rare mature moments for, an 18-year-old high schooler, when my parents said, "Hey, there's a spot for you on this team. We really think you should do it." I didn't really put up much of a fight, and that's really how I started with the team. And it was honestly one of the best decisions ever, and has drastically impacted my future as an adult. It's the entire reason I'm still in fencing, to be honest.
What was it like, obviously, playing college fencing for Temple?
It was fantastic. Coach Frank is just such a role model and such an indomitable force in the sport. And all she wants is for her athletes to succeed, not just on the strip, but as individuals, as people. And so everything that the team did and still does is to help young women develop into independent, confident, successful individuals. And you just learn so many more life lessons than just fencing when you're on the team. And it's really one of the best experiences that I've ever had.
What was that like, obviously, being a Saber fencer for Temple?
It was interesting for me because when I was fencing for Temple, women's Saber was relatively new. And when I was making my college decisions, Saber wasn't an option for me at the high school level. Had just been brought into New Jersey high school fencing. And so I had no experience with Saber, but I desperately wanted to try it. And fortunately, Coach Frank had a need, and I was able to fill that need. And so I walked in having some basic fencing knowledge, but it was really an education. And not only did I have fabulous coaching, but I also had wonderful teammates who really brought me under their wing and showed me what the sport was about.
What was that feeling like of getting to put on that Temple Lane jersey?
So that's an interesting question, because I think looking back, it means so much more to me now than I recognized when I was a kid. I didn't know much about collegiate fencing. I definitely didn't know the legacy that Temple had when I walked onto the team. I look back at it now, though, and it's a very humbling experience to be not just a member of a nationally ranked team, but also a member in a network of women who have come before me and who have come after me, all who have had a similar experience and who have had the privilege of working with Coach Frank and all of her assistant coaches throughout the time that the program has run.
Of course, after your college career, what was that like, obviously, getting into high school fencing and starting your coaching career?
It was a lot of fun. So I teach at the high school that I got a coaching job. I started teaching first, and there was an opening for the coaching, and I really look at it as an opportunity to give back to the sport, to something that's given me so much, and give. At the time, we only had a women's team, a girls' team at the high school, but it was an opportunity to show these young women what they're capable of and really continue on Coach Frank's legacy, giving them something similar to an experience that I had. Obviously, Lakeland Regional High School, it's not a top 10 team in the state. It's not a collegiate program, but you can learn similar life lessons through just participation within the sport. And so I was really grateful to have that opportunity. And I've had some athletes who have gone on to fence collegiately, who have continued to fence USA fencing. And so it's really been a very influential part of who I am as an educator.
What are some of your high school accomplishments in the high school level fencing?
So throughout, I was coaching at the high school level for almost 10 years. And over the course of that time, we achieved a number of county titles. We've consistently qualified into state competition, individually, as a squads, and as a team. And I had been named Coach of the Year a couple times by my colleagues, which was just so honoring of an experience. So, excuse me.
Of course, what was it like for you to see, obviously, those high school athletes that you coached go on to the college level fencing?
Oh, it was wonderful. It means that they developed not only just a love for a sport, but the confidence to know that they could be successful at the next level. And so, I enjoy in their success a bit. And it's really what every coach wants to see. You want to see your athletes going on to that next level, to continue in the sport that they've come to enjoy and have a passion for.
What was that transition personally for you, going from being a high school coach to now becoming a college coach?
It wasn't too bad, to be honest. A lot of the things that I would do at the high school level transitioned well into the collegiate level because I had stolen them from my experience as a college athlete. Additionally, I had a very strong coaching staff surrounding me, kind of guiding me as to what needed to be done and how to go about best helping our athletes. And honestly, I think the biggest adjustment for me was forming a connection with our men's team, because Lakeland's was only a females team. I never really coached a large number of male athletes at a time. I'd coached privately and had a couple male students here and there, but they had always been beginners. And so just earning the respect of our men's team, who is very talented, all of them, and showing them that, yes, I do know what I'm doing and I can help you. Not that they were ever resistant or hesitant, but I could tell that they were sizing me up and trying to figure out, does this person actually know what she is talking about? And once I was able to show them that, like, yeah, I do know what I'm talking about, it all really just fell into place.
What was that feeling like when you did get the job at Drew to become a college coach?
It was exciting. I think it was a necessary step in my coaching career. I had hit the point at the high school where I was getting a little frustrated because I had felt that I was putting in more effort than my athletes. And it's just because of my background and my competitiveness, whereas my high school athletes, the large majority of them were doing the sport because they just enjoyed it. And so I was looking for something that was going to be a little bit more competitive. And I wasn't doing a lot of one-on-one individual work as a high school coach. It was kind of general things, flitting from squad to squad and kind of giving a simple correction and moving on. And now at the collegiate level, I get to spend a lot more time specializing with my athletes, giving them one-on-one individual lessons, working with the squad for the entire practice. Even very once in a while, getting on the strip with the fencers. Not that I can keep up with them anymore, but just to give them something new. And so it's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
What are some of the things that you have accomplished so far on the college level as the assistant coach?
I think probably the most important thing that as a team we've accomplished recently was qualifying our full men's team to the NCAA championships last year. That was just such an experience for everyone, and just really showed how far the program has come as a whole. And, I just think personally, just for me, one of the biggest accomplishments is having an impact on these athletes' lives. There aren't a ton of female coaches, particularly in Saber. And so showing these young ladies that there is a future in fencing for them, that they can be successful, and helping them realize their potential, again, not just as fencers, but as individuals, is probably one of the most important things that we can do.
Of course, what are some similarities and differences between foil fencing and saber fencing?
So both foil and saber are what we call right-of-way weapons. Right-of-way is kind of like old volleyball rules. Old volleyball, it had to be your serve to score, right? Well, with right-of-way weapons, it has to be your attack to score. And so both foil and saber are right-of-way weapons. However, the target areas differ. The target area for foil is going to be the torso, whereas saber, it's from the waist up, including the arms and head. Saber is also a cutting weapon, so you're using the side of the blade primarily, whereas foil is a point weapon. So you're not poking, but you're poking. So you're hitting with the tip of the weapon.
Of course, what has it been like, obviously coaching saber, but also learning foil fencing?
It's been a challenge. I started as a foil fencer in high school. The two options were foil or épée, and they needed a foil fencer. So I said, okay, I'll do foil. And it really wasn't my jam. I wasn't into it. And it's one of the reasons why I wasn't as interested in continuing my fencing career moving into college, which is why it was so important that there was a saber opening on Temple Squad for me. But now that I'm older, I have a little bit of a new appreciation for foil. I can teach the basic techniques of foil, but if you put me on the strip and ask me to actually actively fence foil, it's a hot mess. To be honest, it's just, I can't formulate the timing for the attack correctly. I'm much better. If you want to give me a point weapon, give me an épée. I can at least find the time to do that.
Of course, what is a typical...
When I say find the time, I don't mean like literal time. There's a time how you fence, and I can feel that one better.
What does a typical game day look like for Drew fencing?
So kind of depends on if we're home or we're traveling. If we're home, the athletes will come, they'll help us set up anything that needs to be set up last minute. We generally try to do most of it the night before, but the electrical equipment we'll set up the day of. We'll make sure that everything is secured onto the floor properly. So they'll come in, we'll do the equipment, we'll release them to go get some breakfast. They'll come back, they'll warm up as a team, and then some will kind of distance themselves a little bit to put themselves in a game day mindset. Some of the athletes will continue to warm up. And then we always come back together as a team just before competition starts. Usually Coach Bindis will give a few words of wisdom, as will our team leaders. And then it's kind of chaos ensues. Depending on the structure of the event, the squads are either traveling individually or the team staying together, but the room is filled with fencers. There's usually somewhere between 5 and 8 teams in total fencing for the day. So it's loud and it's hectic. You're always looking towards your next bout and helping your teammates figure out what they need to do on someone that you've already fenced. So there's a lot of talking going on. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of analyzing. So it's a great energizing experience.
Of course, what are some of the things that you've learned from the head coach?
Oh, so much. Coach Bindis is so creative in all of his drills, not just fencing drills, but also just conditioning drills. And so just as a general athlete, seeing some of the conditioning, the speed and agility drills that he puts together has been a lot of fun to learn from. His general perspective on fencing is great. And the amount of work that's needed to do what you need to do and to be successful really lines up with mine. And so I've really appreciated that. We kind of have that same attitude towards how much effort are you going to put in for you to be successful. And we really try to instill that within our athletes as well.
Of course, who are some of the teams that you face in your conference?
So we have a number of conferences that we fence in. But overall, I mean, we tend to see Vassar significantly throughout the season. We fence Stevens, FDU. We see Hopkins quite often. And we fence a number of clubs as well. For example, we fence Rutgers, William and Mary. So there are I feel like we fence a lot of the big schools. We fenced Princeton this year. We were fencing St. John's last year. We were set to go down to University of Pennsylvania, where we would have seen Yale and obviously UPenn, Temple. Unfortunately, that got canceled due to COVID. But so we see most of the schools on the East Coast, I feel like.
What's that like, obviously, getting to have the opportunity to coach against and play against those big teams like Princeton, Yale?
It's a lot of fun. It's good for our athletes to see the next level of fencing and to challenge themselves and see that they're not unbeatable as teams and as individuals. There's a great saying from Coach Frank at Temple that I've really taken to heart, which is any opponent is beatable on any given day. And the point behind that is no matter what you think of anyone, we respect everyone and we don't fear anyone. And we go in and we fence our best. And sometimes our best is better than other people's, and sometimes their best is better than ours. And showing our athletes that they can compete at that higher level has really done wonders for their confidence.
What does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to get into college fencing?
So it's going to vary bit by bit for every school. But if athletes are looking to fence at the NCAA level, the first thing that they need to do is get in contact with the coaches. You can't expect coaches to come out and find you. This is not like football. It's not like baseball. You really should be going out and introducing yourselves to the coaches. Most schools have a recruiting form, prospective athlete recruiting form that students are required to fill out, and then the coach will contact you. And so for us, what we do is we set up individual meetings, either on campus or via Zoom, depending on where that prospective athlete is coming from. Obviously, it's not entirely possible to set up a individual meeting for a first meet if someone's coming from California, say. So and in that first meeting, we want to make sure that we're a good fit for each other. Not only are we evaluating the athlete themselves to make sure that they're a good fit for us, we want to make sure that they feel that we are a good fit for them and we line up with their goals just as much as they're going to line up with our goals. From there, we'll have a student come out for an official visit. We'll tour the campus, they'll observe practice, they'll meet some of the players, go out to dinner, do an overnight, and then go to classes with some of our athletes the next day, depending on what majors they're interested in, what they're interested in pursuing.
Of course, as a coach, what are some of the things that you look at in these prospective student athletes when on the road?
So our biggest thing when we're working with prospective student athletes is we want to make sure that their character matches the character of our team. We want individuals who are coachable, who are open to suggestions, who are going to work well with their teammates. We don't need the best fencers. We can help you with the fencing aspect of things. We want people who are good people, who are going to fit in and help bring the team up as a whole versus just focusing on the fencing aspect of things.
What does the official visit look like for those prospective student athletes looking to come to Drew?
So they'll come down and we'll talk with them and their parents. Usually that happens before practice and then kind of continues a little bit during practice. And that athlete and their parents will watch practice. They have the opportunity to ask questions, talk with any of the athletes that they'd like to talk with. And it gives them a feeling of what they can expect if they do choose to come to us. And then after practice ends, they usually go to dinner with the team. Our team usually goes in like big groups of Drew fencers to dinner, and they have dinner together every night, which is really nice. And so the athlete joins in on that. And then they stay overnight in one of the dorms with the athletes, and they get to kind of see what dorm life is like. And then the next morning, we'll set them up to go to different classes. Depending on what they're interested in, what major they're interested in pursuing. So they actually get to go and audit some of the collegiate classes that they could experience if they come to Drew.
What's it like, obviously, as a coach, seeing those prospective student athletes fall in love with Drew's fencing program?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. I think we have a fantastic program. And more importantly, I think our team members are just really great, interesting, fun individuals, and seeing someone realize that they're going to fit into this group and be accepted for who they are no matter what is really nice to see. And it's really exciting then when they do come to us to see them grow as fencers and as people.
What advice would you give those high school athletes looking to become college fencers?
A couple of things. Don't be shy. Absolutely go out, introduce yourself to coaches, talk to coaches, fill out that recruiting form and go ask your questions. Really make sure that that school is a good fit. And to that end, please don't choose a school simply for fencing. If you want to fence, that's wonderful. And I highly encourage everyone to pursue their passion, but you can't choose your school just based off of that one characteristic. You have to find a school that's going to be right for you and help set you up for the career that you want in the future. Other than that, fence as much as you can. Find a club, even if it's a small club that's not as competitive, fence. Go out, fence year round, go to USA fencing competitions, take the lessons if you can, but get as much experience as you are able to, because you will be able to use that experience in your collegiate career.
What advice would you give those future college players that are fencers looking to go to the Olympic level to represent either Team USA or Canada?
It's pretty similar advice, honestly. It's to go fence. If you're looking to compete at that elite level, you need to be at the USA fencing competitions. You need to be taking the time to train. And if you're looking to compete at that level, it can't be training once or twice a week. It's got to be consistent. And you need to find a coach whose goals and capabilities are going to align with yours. And it's okay to start with one coach, and as your goals and capabilities change, go to another coach and learn those different perspectives. But the biggest thing is go fence.
What advice would you give those high school coaches looking to get into coaching on the high school level of fencing, just like you did, and then work your way up to the college level?
I would go to the coaching clinics. I would go make sure that you're involved in USA fencing. For example, I will do a lot of regional tournaments on Work the Bout committee, just so you can see fencing, see the trends, go take lessons, learn some of the trends. You don't have to be the best at them, but learn the trends, learn how things are being called, learn the new techniques that athletes are applying so that you can give those techniques to your athletes, and you can understand the calls that your directors are making, and you can analyze the fencing. You don't have to be the best fencer in the world in order to be a good coach. You have to be able to understand what's going on and give your athletes the tools for them to be successful.
What advice would you give future college coaches looking to get started in coaching on the college level of fencing?
Current college coaches?
Current and future.
Okay. Learn the sport, know the weapons, all of them, even on a basic level. I specialize in Saber, but I understand the basics of all three weapons. Learn some of the speed and agility and the conditioning techniques, because athletes are athletes, regardless of whether they're fencers or baseball players, football players, golf players. It doesn't matter. Athletes are athletes, and they're going to need that basic conditioning as well. And so if you're a well-rounded coach who understands the sport, you'll be fine.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Drew's fencing program?
You said social media?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not really on social media all that much, to be honest. I have a Facebook page, but it's private. And I'm not on Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or any of those. But in terms of the program, we do have both an Instagram and a Facebook. You can find us at Drew University Fencing, and we post to those quite frequently. We have a couple of our athletes as social media coordinators, and they do a fabulous job. And so I would encourage everyone to check those out.
Thank you again, Coach Keri Ecker, for your interview, and best of luck in your future at the Drew University for the assistant fencing.
Great. Thank you so much.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Keri Ecker, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.